Thank you for joining us again here on Kingdom Portions on Kingdom in Context. I'm Sean Griffin, and I'm accompanied by my incredible co-host and wife.
Hey guys, I'm Lindsay. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, sweetie.
Shabbat Shalom, babe.
And thank you for joining us. We really appreciate you guys supporting us and showing us love in the comments. And if this is your first time to see Kingdom Portions or even Kingdom in Context, be sure to hit the subscribe button, tap the bell. You're notified when new videos come out. We do a lot of fun content on this channel. In addition to this particular Bible study we do on Fridays, we do other shows that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you haven't seen Honor of Kings, we do that on Saturday night. That's where we look at books that were either not included in the Bible or books that used to be in the Bible but were taken out. And we try to test them to the Bible that we do have and see if they line up or if they don't. It's called Honor of Kings. It's a really fun show that we do. Also, this weekend coming out is a new series that we're starting, Torah Apologetics. So I'm excited about it. It's going to be a lot of fun. And please join us for our premiere episode of that on Sunday evening. And tonight, we're looking at the Torah portion of Numbers chapter 1 through chapter 4, verse 20. And we got some fun stuff to dig in here. We're excited about it because we're going to pair it up with some things from 1 Samuel, 1 Corinthians, also even in 2 Baruch. So there's some fun stuff that we're looking at. And as always, we just want to thank you. If you're a Patreon member here at Kingdom in Context, we love we love your support and we thank you for it. And we just thank you for being faithful and doing that for us every month. And if you've ever donated to us at all, whether through Patreon or PayPal or even the P.O. box that we have, all of those three options are in the video description below. We just want to say a big thank you to everyone that support us. Many people have written us wonderful letters. Yeah. Heartfelt, touching letters, and we just thank you that you're allowing us to, come into your homes through this YouTube channel thing and be a part of it and bless you. And it's our prayer that you're edified by the stuff that we're doing, and that's just it means a lot to us when you give us some feedback or you give us some encouragement, as people often do. And so we thank you so much for that. What else, sweetie? Anything else you need to talk about?
If you guys haven't joined our Facebook group yet, you can do that. We find that the Facebook app is better at notifying us of activity going on. YouTube, 4 out of 5 comments we don't get a notification for. So if you're wanting to interact with us a little more and other people who also like the channel, you can find us under Kingdom in Context / Hanging on His Words study group. We've partnered with our brother Ken Heidebrecht over at Hanging on His Words. That's his channel. If you haven't subscribed, go do that. But yeah, it's just a place to hang out online, fellowship, study together, talk about, the stuff that we put on our channel and stuff like that. So yeah, come join us.
Check it out. And actually, if you haven't been to Ken's channel, go check that out as well. It's called Hanging on His Words. He's a good brother of ours, and he does an amazing job at his channel. Great video compilations and narrations, great edifying messages. And so they're short, sweet, to the point, and I think you'll really be blessed by them. So go check out Hanging on His Words. Other than that, sweetie, I'm excited to get to the book of Numbers. Yeah. We're starting a new book, right? It's the book of Numbers. And this one's a fun one because this actually takes place in the second year of the children of Israel coming out of Egypt and their journey in the wilderness. And so they've had some time to make some mistakes, and will they show some maturity or will they continue making mistakes? Let's do it. We're going to get to it. All right, sweetie. You want to start with the first chapter?
Be my guest.
Okay. Hey, guys, if you're following along in your Bibles at home, we're going to start in Numbers chapter 1. And then the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tent of meeting, on the first of the second month, in the second year, after they had come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Take a census of all the congregation of the sons of Israel, by their families and by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, every male, head by head, from 20 years old and upward. Whoever is able to go out to war in Israel, you and Aaron shall number them by their armies. And with you, moreover, there shall be a man of each tribe, each one head of his father's household. These are the names of the men who shall stand with you. Of Reuben, Elizur, the son of Shador. Of Simon, Shelemuel, the son of Saradashai. Of Judah, Nahshon, the son of Amminadab. Of Issachar, Nethanel, the son of Zuar. Of Zebulun, Eliab, the son of Helon. And of the sons of Joseph, Ephraim, Elishama, the son of Ammihud. Of Manasseh, Gamaliel, and the son of Pedazur. Of Benjamin, Abidan, the son of Gideoni. And of Dan, Ahiezer, the son of Ammishaddai. Of Asher, Pagiel is the son of Ochran. And of Gad, Elisaph, the son of Duel. And of Naphtali, Ahira, the son of Enan. These are they who were called of the congregation, the leaders of their fathers' tribes. They were the heads of the divisions of Israel. So Moses and Aaron took these men who had been designated by name, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first of the second month. Then they registered by ancestry in their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, head by head, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So they numbered them in the wilderness of Sinai. Now, the sons of Reuben, Israel's firstborn, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, head by head, every male from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Reuben was 46,500. Of the sons of Simeon, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, their numbered men, according to the number of names, head by head, every male from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Simeon were 59,300. Of the sons of Gad, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Gad were 45,650. And of the sons of Judah, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Judah was 74,600. Of the sons of Issachar, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Issachar were 54,400. And of the sons of Zebulun, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Zebulun were 57,400. Of the sons of Joseph, namely the sons of Ephraim, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Ephraim were 40,500. Of the sons of Manasseh, the genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Manasseh was 32,200. Of the sons of Benjamin, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Benjamin was 35,400. And of the sons of Dan, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, of whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Dan were 62,700. Of the sons of Asher, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Asher were 41,500. And of the sons of Naphtali, their genealogical registration by their families, by their fathers' households, according to the number of names, from the 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war, their numbered men of the tribe of Naphtali were 53,400. These are the ones who were numbered, whom Moses and Aaron numbered, with the leaders of Israel, 12 men, each of whom was his father's household. So all the numbered men of the sons of Israel by their fathers' households, from 20 years old and upward, whoever was able to go out to war in Israel, even all the numbered men, equaled 603,550. The Levites, however, were not numbered among them by their father's tribe. For the Lord had spoken to Moses, saying, Only the tribe of Levi you shall not number, nor shall you take their census among the sons of Israel, but you shall appoint the Levites over the tabernacle of the testimony, and over all its furnishings, over all that belongs to it. And they shall carry the tabernacle and all its furnishings, and they shall take care of it. They shall also camp around the tabernacle. So when the tabernacle is set out, the Levites shall take it down, and when the tabernacle encamps, the Levites shall set it up. But the layman who comes near shall be put to death. The sons of Israel shall camp, each man by his own camp, and each man by his own standard, according to their armies. But the Levites shall camp around the tabernacle of the testimony, so that there will be no wrath on the congregation of the sons of Israel. So the Levites shall keep charge of the tabernacle of the testimony. Thus the sons of Israel did, according to all to which the Lord had commanded Moses, so they did. Okay, so we've got Numbers chapter 1. There's a lot of names, a lot of repetitive stuff. You could probably make a song out of it if because there's so much repetition. It's like a chorus repeated over and over with different names. But they're basically figuring out their armies, right? They're figuring out who can fight which tribe. There's a reason those names, by the way, we're going to find this out in chapter 2. There's a reason those names were mentioned in the order they were. And so it was the leader first, and then two tribes, next time. We're going to find that out in chapter 2 as they actually show us how they camp around the tabernacle. Right. Which actually technically is also around the Levites as well.
Right.
So that's interesting. What sticks out to you, sweetie?
Well, we have the typology of Moses basically having 12. I mean, they're not I mean, I guess they are disciples. I mean, he's discipling them in the law. So Moses basically has 12 disciples here.
That's right.
That are heads of the tribes.
That's right.
So just an interesting typology of Moses in comparison to Christ.
To Yeshua. That absolutely. It's a good one. What's interesting is the way it told the Levites to camp around the tabernacle, the tent of meeting, as a buffer between them and the regular people, all the other tribes. Do you think that that's what it's going to look like when the New Jerusalem sets down? Isaiah 66, he talks about he's choosing new Levites from among the sons of men when the kingdom comes. And so I wonder if they're going to be like camped out around the walls of the New Jerusalem, or at least the entrance to some of the gates closer.
It would make sense to me because at that point the Levites are definitely going to be like the buffer between the mortal people who need to be bringing their sacrifices and offerings and all that stuff, coming to learn the law and drink from the river and eat from the trees, and it's going to be the Levites who are mediating for the mortals. So I would think that strategically, it would make sense to have them positioned there. Of course, we don't have any scripture that explicitly states that's how it's going to be, but we know that everything being laid out in the Torah, especially with the priestly stuff, is a shadow, of what's to come.
Yeah, it would make a lot of sense because as we talked about a few episodes back, and when we were looking at Leviticus 14 through 16 about all these rules for leprosy, and the priests were a part of this as far as them checking, basically doing a wellness check, both with the people on their skin and also their clothing and even their households. So as we have all, if you followed Kingdom Portions for any length of time, you've probably heard us read lots of Day of the Lord scriptures from prophecy from the prophets, both Old and New Testament. And much of the description talks about when the literal kingdom comes and sets down and all the world is brought to it. I mean, we spent, we titled one of our episodes, I think it was like last November, it's called Wealth of the Nations. And that was one of the things that we actually focused on in that particular portion, where it's literally like Isaiah 60 and other chapters talk about, after Day of Armageddon, after the Father clears out all the wicked from the land that's promised Abraham, and the New Jerusalem sets down, coming down through the firmament from heaven, all the nations are brought to the New Jerusalem, and they camp out around it. And this is, and it would make perfect sense that the Levites are literally the interior perimeter between the regular people and the walls of the new city. Because they're going to have to, like, when people come to the city, to the gate of the tabernacle, of the big temple, the city itself, or if they go inside for different reasons, and that's kind of like an advanced video that we haven't quite put out yet. Yeah. So they're going in all the minute details about how they can go inside, and as alluded to in many different places, Ezekiel and Revelation. But it would make sense that the Levites were like the gatekeepers, right? Because they would be making sure they're clean to come inside, making sure they've gone through Torah properly to come inside, and then as they leave, spot check on the leprosy.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because as we talked about in those two portions, I think it was called Lepers in the Kingdom, and then the Mark of Leprosy. So those two episodes we went over what we felt the scriptures were telling us, how this specific concept, which the modern day language for leprosy was just simply the word plague used in the Hebrew back in the day. So it's not the modern day, what was it, Hutchinson's disease? What was it called? No, it
was some guy's name.
Yeah.
But I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But it's a different, it's
whatever
different.
It is that they claim as leprosy today is not what is described in Scripture.
Right.
So it was something very different, and it seemed to have a very strong correlation of being around the presence of God when your heart was not right, and then something physically affected you, something physically happened as a result. So this will make perfect sense when the kingdom comes. These Levites are pushed or camped around the New Jerusalem as a buffer between the city of holiness, which is called the city of righteousness and truth, and the regular people who are still learning Torah, learning how to walk in that righteousness in their mortal state,
right?
Because they're not resurrected and glorified yet. So interesting if that's a wonderful little parallel, right here in the first chapter of Numbers. What seems to be a boring chapter, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, really. And as we were reading it, I did think of one other thing we can talk about here. This is where people get that age of accountability.
Yeah.
When they talk about basically like how we're, legal adults once we're 18 here in America. A lot of people have a similar understanding of the legal adulthood, according to the scriptures, would be 20. And they could be correct about that. I'm not sure. I know that A lot of feminists will use this chapter to point out how the women weren't counted, and that must mean that they were worthless. But if you just read the context, I would be glad not to be counted in this, because this is the men of fighting age. This is the men who can go to war. Yeah. So the context is very clear. This isn't about valuing human beings and how they matter to God. This is about who can go out and
put your life at risk.
Fight. Yeah, put your life on the line. So. Yeah. Just another example that feminists love to take the Bible out of context.
Well, it's most people who are just straight mocking it.
Yeah.
They don't actually know it. They're just mocking it, just like the Bible talks about. Okay, so anything else in this chapter that sticks out to you?
No, I think
you want to read
move on.
Chapter 2, or are you going to make me do it also?
I'll give it a shot. I'll share the burden with you. We both struggle to pronounce the names, guys. That's all. It's not that it's a burden to read the scriptures.
We don't view reading the scriptures as a burden.
Of course not, yeah.
Some of the names trip us up, so it's always fun.
A little taxing with the names. Starting in chapter 2. Now the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, The sons of Israel shall camp, each by his own standard, with the banners of their fathers' households. They shall camp around the tent of meeting at a distance. Now those who camp on the east side toward the sunrise shall be of the standard of the camp of Judah, by their armies, and the leader of the sons of Judah, Nahshon the son of Amminadab, and his army, even their numbered men, 74,600. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Issachar, and the leader of the sons of Issachar, Nethanel the son of Zuar, and his army, even their numbered men, 54,400. Then comes the tribe of Zebulun, and the leader of the sons of Zebulun, Eliab the son of Helon, and his army, even his numbered men, 57,400. The total of the numbered men of the camp of Judah, 186,400 by their armies. They shall set out first. On the south side shall be the standard of the camp of Reuben by their armies, and the leader of the sons of Reuben, Eliezer the son of Shedeur, and his army, even their numbered men, 46,500. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Simeon, and the leader of the sons of Simeon, Shelumiel the son of Zerushadai, and his army, even their numbered men, 59,300. Then comes the tribe of Gad, and the leader of the sons of Gad, Eliasaph the son of Deuel, and his army, even their numbered men, 45,650. The total of the numbered men of the camp of Reuben, 151,450 by their armies, and they shall set out second. Then the tent of meeting shall set out with the camp of the Levites in the midst of the camps. Just as they camp, so shall they set out, every man in his place by their standards. On the west side shall be the standard of the camp of Ephraim by their armies, and the leader of the sons of Ephraim shall be Elishama the son of Ammihud, and his army, even their numbered men, 40,500. Next to him shall be the tribe of Manasseh, and the leader of the sons of Manasseh, Gamaliel the son of Pedahazor, and his army, even their numbered men, 32,200. Then comes the tribe of Benjamin, and the leader of the sons of Benjamin, Abidan the son of Gideoni, and his army, even their numbered men, 35,400. The total of the numbered men of the camp of Ephraim, 108,100 by their armies, and they shall set out third. On the north side shall be the standard of the camp of Dan by their armies, and the leader of the sons of Dan, Ahiezer the son of Ammishaddai, and his army, even their numbered men, 62,700. Those who camp next to him shall be the tribe of Asher, and the leader of the sons of Asher, Pagiel the son of Ochran, and his army, even the numbered men, 41,500. Then comes the tribe of Naphtali, and the leader of the sons of Naphtali, Ahira the son of Enan, and his army, even their numbered men, 53,400. The total of the numbered men of the camp of Dan was 157,600. They shall set out last by their standards. These are the numbered men of the sons of Israel by their fathers' households, the total of the numbered men of the camps by their armies, 603,550. The Levites, however, were not numbered among the sons of Israel, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Thus the sons of Israel did, according to all that the Lord commanded Moses, so they camped by their standards, and so they set out, one by his family, according to his father's household.
Well, thank you, sweetie. All right, so this something that I just want to point out real quick is, you know how it mentions certain tribe names, right? Mm-hmm. And as we mentioned from chapter 1 as well, there was a reason that they were listed off as they were, because it wasn't in the order of their genealogical birth. Right. So they were kind of mixed up a little bit, mm-hmm. you know. And it's interesting that they are in the ways they were, because this is totally different than what we see in other books of the Bible where the 12 sons are mentioned.
Right.
And people have tried to make some inference about the organization of the 12 sons' names and what those names mean, thinking there's a hidden meaning there for, and there could be, but here's the point. This is just another different book besides Deuteronomy, Ezekiel, Revelation, and Genesis, where these 12 sons' names are mentioned and listed off, all of them in different combinations.
Right.
So that's just something to keep in mind, that I think for this context, it was pertinent that they were put in the combination that they were because of where they were placed around the camp, who was like the quote unquote leading tribe for that particular quadrant, and then the other two tribes, that were under it, so to speak. So there's just something to keep in mind. And also, how are they actually organized around the tabernacle?
Oh, well, I'm sure you can throw a picture up on the screen because, it's definitely interesting. The actual shape of the formation, it does make a cross.
Yeah, it's interesting because of the numbers of, and the reason where they came up with this idea is that not just because they're on four sides of the tabernacle, but because of the numbers and the logistics of that many people standing next to each other or camped near each other. That number created a longer, so that's why in the chapter 1, they gave us all the numbers of the tribes. So that's where they come up with this diagram that you're seeing there. So it's interesting.
It's, we're kind of like, the book of Numbers is unique. It's like part priestly duties, part some narrative of the story, and part tactical field manual. I mean, there's some battle plans, laid out here for us. And so it is interesting to look at it from the military aspect, which I think a lot of people forget that was involved in all of this, because they were being attacked as they were out in the wilderness.
And this was for their protection. This is a military formation basically, and which is hence chapter 1. Who can go to war? Numbering, take a census. Who can go to war? Right. And that's actually something we're going to address in our first pairing later, 1 Samuel, when David decides to figure out how many people he has to go to war with, and we'll read about that. But also, verse 18, it talks about how it mentions all these people's names, but then it mentions, instead of the tribe of Joseph, like it did in chapter 1, it mentions the tribe of Ephraim and then Manasseh. So this is just another example that throughout Scripture, Ephraim is interchangeable for Joseph, which is very interesting. So people try to make all these unique speculations about, oh my goodness, Joseph's missing. What's going on there? Well, it euphemistically used Ephraim in exchange for Joseph many times.
Yeah, and we see the same with the name Jacob and the name Israel.
That's right.
All through Scripture. So sometimes you'll see the name Jacob, but it's actually referring to the whole of Israel. Sometimes you'll see the name Israel, but it's actually talking about Jacob, just the person. So yeah, it's just kind of how Scripture works. I think what's most interesting about this formation is that it's all designed to cushion the tabernacle in the middle of it. Yeah. And have protection for that. So
it is beautiful. It's the heart of the camp, baby.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Anything else in this chapter stands out to you?
No, I think that's probably...
Okay, I'll go on to 3.
All
right, guys, if you're following along, we're going to jump into chapter 3 real quick. So here in verse 1. Now these are the records of the generations of Aaron and Moses at the time when the Lord spoke with Moses on Mount Sinai. These then are the names of the sons of Aaron, Nadab the firstborn, and Abihu, and Eleazar, and Ithamar. These are the names of the sons of Aaron, the anointed priests, whom he ordained to serve as priests. But Nadab and Abihu died before the Lord when they offered strange fire before the Lord in the wilderness of Sinai. They had no children, so Eleazar and Ithamar served as priests in the lifetime of their father Aaron. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Bring the tribe of Levi near and set them before Aaron the priest, that they may serve him. They shall perform the duties for him, for the whole congregation before the tent of meeting, to do the service of the tabernacle. They shall also keep all the furnishings of the tent of meeting, along with the duties of the sons of Israel, to do service of the tabernacle. You shall thus give the Levites to Aaron and to his sons. They are wholly given to him from among the sons of Israel. So you shall appoint Aaron and his sons, that they may keep their priesthood, but the layman who comes near shall be put to death. Again the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Now behold, I have taken the Levites from among the sons of Israel, and instead of every firstborn, the first issue of the womb among the sons of Israel, so the Levites shall be mine. For all the firstborn are mine. On the day that I struck down all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, I sanctified to myself all the firstborn in Israel, from man to beast. They shall be mine. I am Yahweh. And then Yahweh spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, saying, Number the sons of Levi by their fathers' households, by their families, every male from a month old upward you shall number. So Moses numbered them according to the word of the Lord, just as he had been commanded. These then are the sons of Levi by their names, Gershon and Kohath and Merari. These are the names of the sons of Gershon by their families, Libni and Shimei. And the sons of Kohath by their families, Amram and Izhar, Hebron, and Uziel. And the sons of Merari by their families, Mahli and Mushi. These are the families of the Levites according to their fathers' households. Of Gershon was the family of the Libnites and the family of the Shemaites. They were the families of the Gershonites. Their numbered men, and the numbering of every male from a month old and upward, even their numbered men, were 7,500. The families of the Gershonites were to camp behind the tabernacle westward, and the leaders of the fathers' households of the Gershonites was Elisaph the sons of Lael. Now, the duties of the sons of Gershon in the tent of meeting involved the tabernacle, and the tent, its covering, and the screen for the doorway of the tent of meeting, and the hangings of the court, and the screen for the doorway of the court, which is around the tabernacle and the altar, and its cords, according to all the service concerning them. Of Kohath was the family of the Amramites, and the family of the Izharites, and the family of the Hebronites, and the family of the Uzielites. These were the families of the Kohathites. In the numbering of every male from a month old and upward, there were 8,600 performing the duties of the sanctuary. The families and the sons of Kohath were to camp on the south side of the tabernacle, and the leader of the fathers' households of the Kohathites' families was Elizaphan, the son of Uziel. Now their duties involve the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, the utensils in the sanctuary with which they minister, and the screen, and all the service concerning them. And Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, was the chief of the leaders of Levi, and had the oversight of those who performed the duties of the sanctuary. Of Merari was the family of the Mahlites, and the family of the Mushites. These were the families of Merari. Their numbered men, and the numbering of every male from a month old upward, were 6,200. The leaders of the father's household of the families of Merari was Zeriel, the son of Abihel. They were to camp on the northward side of the tabernacle. Now the appointed duties of the sons of Merari involved the frames of the tabernacle, its bars, its pillars, its sockets, and all of its equipment, and the service concerning them, and the pillars around the court, with their sockets and their pegs and their cords. Now those who were to camp before the tabernacle eastward, before the tent of meeting, toward the sunrise, are Moses and Aaron and his sons, performing the duties of the sanctuary for the obligation of the sons of Israel. But the layman coming near was to be put to death. All the numbered men of the Levites, whom Moses and Aaron numbered at the command of the Lord by their families, every male from a month old and upward, were 22,000. Then the Lord said to Moses, Number every firstborn male of the sons of Israel from a month old and upward, and make a list of their names. You shall take the Levites from me. I am the Lord, instead of all the firstborn among the sons of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites, instead of all the firstborn among the cattle of the sons of Israel. So Moses numbered all the firstborn among the sons of Israel, just as the Lord had commanded him, and all the firstborn males by the number of names from a month old and upward, from their numbered men, were 22,273. Then the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take the Levites instead of all the firstborn among the sons of Israel, and the cattle of the Levites, and the Levites shall be mine. I am Yahweh. For the ransom of the 273 of the firstborn of the sons of Israel, who are in excess beyond the Levites, you shall take 5 shekels apiece per head. You shall take them in terms of the shekel of the sanctuary, the shekels 20 gerahs, and give that money, the ransom of those who are in excess among them, to Aaron and to his sons. So Moses took the ransom money from those who were in excess, beyond those ransomed by the Levites. From the firstborn of the sons of Israel, he took the money in terms of the shekels of the sanctuary, 1,365. Then Moses gave the ransom money to Aaron and to his sons, at the command of Yahweh, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Okay, so that was Numbers chapter 3. Sweetie, what sticks out to you first in this one?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. We have this concept of the firstborn and the Levites taking the place of the firstborn. Mm-hmm. So what I take this to mean is that the firstborn, because of what happened in Egypt, all the firstborn are supposed to be dedicated to Yahweh. And so in the language of the Torah, to be dedicated to Yahweh means to be in the service of him. Mm-hmm. In his tabernacle and his temple, whatever, right?
To some degree, depending on your job duty assigned to you, to some degree, which is why much of that was already told to us about specific things around the tabernacle, tent of meeting, the ark, all that stuff was assigned to those families directly descendant from Aaron. Right. But the Levites themselves had other temple duties they helped with. This is why they're called being brought into service as being claimed as Yahweh's, right? And so it's basically the Father making good on what he told them back in Exodus chapter 12, I think it was, chapter 13, verses 11 through 16, where he's talking about, hey, I just saved all your firstborn while you're here in the Exodus moment, right? Yeah. In that last plague. So now you owe me, basically.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be crass about it, but that's essentially what he's doing here. But he had a plan all along, right? Because he needed them to understand that value of what was owed. Like, don't forget, I saved all your kids.
Yeah.
I saved all your firstborn and your cattle and your animals, right? And now instead of me taking those, in fact, why don't I just take the Levites? And to me, I think he had that plan all along, to be honest with you.
Of course
But he had to make it real for the rest of the people to understand the value that was happening here. So, and there's just this unique concept of 273 people differences, right? So there was a difference of 273 people, and so instead of him going, okay, well, give me those 273 people from among the sons of Israel, and I'll take these 22,000 Levites. He was like, no, just I'll just take the 22,000 Levites and just pay this much difference per person for the leftovers, the leftover disparity of amounts. And so that's interesting because he calls that a ransom. And this is something, and this terminology of being ransomed and redeemed is what we see at the resurrection.
Right.
So which is beautiful, how the Father ransoms our souls from Sheol. And this is obviously made possible by Yeshua.
Right.
Because he makes atonement for us. And that's why this language is used analogous to him ransoming us or redeeming us, right? We're redeemed by the blood of the Lamb, right? You've heard that term. So this is where some of this terminology comes from.
Yeah, and we even, through that process of being ransomed, redeemed, whichever word you want to use, it seems to be interchangeable, through the resurrection, we also have the ongoing theme of a priesthood involved in that, because we're brought into a royal priesthood.
That's right.
At that point in time. So it's an interesting concept. I can say that until we studied this chapter this past weekend, I hadn't really thought about, I didn't really understand the concept of Yeshua ransoming us and what that really meant. And I'm still not sure I completely grasp it, like if there's any monetary value somehow involved there between him and the Father. I don't know, I don't know how literal it is, but it's an interesting connection to what we see going on here with the Levites. So.
Absolutely. It is. And why would they pay money per head, per person?
I don't know.
So what does he tell him? He says, we got a disparity here of numbers, right? He's like, I'm trading all of your firstborn sons from all the various tribes, and instead I just want the Levites. But there's a difference of 273 people. Pay me 5. He says the sanctuary shekel, all right?
Yeah. Let
me use some modern terms just for the sake of this little analogy. So give me $5 a person, right? Probably not. Actually, I think the half shekel was back in Exodus 30, because they had to, when they did a census, they had to ransom or pay a shekel ransom basically for all the people in Exodus 30. But let's say it's $100, right? So it's $100 per person. So now he's going to have what, $2,730.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that $100 is going to the priesthood, right? Since they're not getting a person, because remember how we read previously in all the different rules, like especially like last week, the different people in service and the different rules about the Jubilee year, and they could be purchased out, they could be ransomed, and the people could be actually given with money. They could be given to as a vow to the tabernacle itself for service, right? And we read about Hannah, and all that. So and Jephthah's daughter with Jephthah's vow. So this concept here makes me think, since they're not getting the manpower, they're like, all right, we'll just give a monetary equivalent of some sort, because manpower is actually needed by the priests for all the things that we read about in the previous parts of this chapter, where it's talking about, hey, this family, I need you guys to take care of the tent covering and the ark itself. This family, all the poles and the sockets and everything that actually puts up the tent of the meeting, I need you to take care of that, handle it with care. We're going to be taking it down and putting it up and moving around. And so all that is effort. Right. You know what I'm saying? All that can and easily would equate to a monetary value, because they're literally performing the services, even the boring ones, of the tabernacle, even though they may not be Aaron, the actual high priest, sprinkling the blood and doing going in behind the veil on the Day of Atonement. They may not have that position, but they are helping the whole process of creating atonement for the people of Israel. And so there is value placed on that. And that's just honestly, I think that they're getting a very big discount with only 5 shekels a head.
Yeah.
For the actual value that they're getting, but that's just how the Father decided to render that equation for equality, right? For just to say, look, these just to show you that these guys are doing something that's worth something, right? And this is what I want you guys to understand. Not only am I taking them into service instead of your children, you can keep the children in your own family and your own basis, but trying to teach them value on a couple different levels for the actual temple and the priesthood itself, which is important for the people to understand.
Right.
So, and all of it is analogous to our resurrection into the kingdom. So it's beautiful. Anything else in this chapter sticks out?
No, I think we can move on.
Okay, we'll go to chapter 4. We're just going to read the first 20 verses. That's where the portion stops this week.
Then the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, Take a census of the descendants of Kohath from among the sons of Levi, by their families, by their fathers' households, from 30 years and upward, even to 50 years old, all who enter the service to do the work in the tent of meeting. This is the work of the descendants of Kohath in the tent of meeting concerning the most holy things. When the camp sets out, Aaron and his sons shall go in, and they shall take down the veil of the screen and cover the ark of the testimony with it. And they shall lay a covering of porpoise skin on it, and shall spread over it a cloth of pure blue, and shall insert its poles. Over the table of the bread of the presence they shall also spread a cloth of blue, and put on it the dishes and the pans and the sacrificial bowls, and the jars for the drink offering, and the continual bread shall be on it. They shall spread over them a cloth of scarlet material, and cover the same with a covering of porpoise skin, and they shall insert its poles. Then they shall take a blue cloth, and cover the lampstand for the light, along with its lamps, and its snuffers, and its trays, and all its oil vessels, by which they serve it. And they shall put it and all its utensils in a covering of porpoise skin, and shall put it on the carrying bars. Over the golden altar they shall spread a blue cloth, and cover it with a covering of porpoise skin, and shall insert its poles. And they shall take all the utensils of service with which they serve in the sanctuary, and put them in a blue cloth, and cover them with a covering of porpoise skin, and put them on the carrying bars. Then they shall take away the ashes from the altar, and spread a purple cloth over it. They shall also put on it all its utensils by which they serve in connection with it, the fire pans, the forks and shovels, and the basins, all the utensils of the altar, and they shall spread a cover of porpoise skin over it, and insert its poles. When Aaron and his sons have finished covering the holy objects and all the furnishings of the sanctuary, when the camp is to set out, after that the sons of Kohath shall come to carry them, so that they will not touch the holy objects and die. These are the things in the tent of meeting which the sons of Kohath are to carry. The responsibility of Eleazar, the son of Aaron the priest, is the oil for the light, and the fragrant incense, and the continual grain offering, and the anointing oil, the responsibility of all the tabernacle, and of all that is in it, with the sanctuary and its furnishings. Then the Lord spoke to Moses and to Aaron, saying, Do not let the tribe of the families of the Kohathites be cut off from among the Levites, but do this to them that they may live and not die when they approach the most holy objects. Aaron and his sons shall go in and assign each of them to his work and to his load. But they shall not go in to see the holy objects for even a moment, or they will die.
Okay, thank you, sweetie.
Sure.
All right, first off, real quick, guys, for whatever reason, this translation has the word porpoise in it. No, it's not dolphin skin that they, or animal dolphin hide that they layered over.
Because there's just all kinds of dolphins out in the desert for them to skin, and
it's many other translations suggest it's actually an unknown word, an origin of word, according to the translators. So it's likened by many unto like a badger skin or something like that. Something that's just an actual animal hide that they would have had access to. So it's interesting.
And one thing that I've heard people say is that it doesn't make any sense they don't understand why Yahweh would command them to use any kind of an unclean animal to package these materials. As we saw in our last episode, unclean animals have many different purposes. Their purpose just isn't to be food. So there's nothing necessarily that says a badger skin, because I'm not sure that badgers are clean or not, but I've just heard people arguing that there's contradictions on this particular topic, because how can it be an unclean animal being used, yada yada. First of all, we don't know what kind of animal it is, because it's an unknown word. So it very well could be some sort of a clean animal. So if you ever come across that kind of an argument, you can just let the person know, go look at the Hebrew. Like, it could be a badger, it could be something different that lived in the wilderness that they were able to use. So that's just kind of a moot point at a certain point of the conversation, because the Hebrew word itself is unknown.
It's a critique from ignorance is what that would be called. Yeah, because it's just them guessing it's an unclean animal. So,
Right.
But yeah, that's something to consider. Also, this idea at the very end where it talks about Aaron and his sons, where it says that he's trying to let them know, they shall not go into the holy objects even for a moment, or they will die.
Mm-hmm.
Just not his sons, but the other people that were helping.
Kohathites.
Yeah, the Kohathites. Do you think after Leviticus chapter 9, when we saw Abihu and Abinadab? What was his name?
Nadab and Abihu.
Nadab and Abihu. When we saw those two guys get shot down with some fire because they went and burned strange fire on the altar, do you think that these Kohathites now are going to respect this command?
I would think that was an effective witness to them. Yeah.
Because it's like, he says a couple times, don't let the laymen come near or they're going to die.
Right.
Now he tells the Kohathites, who are actually commissioned to help with some of this stuff, but don't let them see the holy objects lest they die.
Right.
I think, unfortunately, after the sad event with Aaron's other two sons, these people are going to respect this idea now.
Yeah, at least for a time.
Yeah.
It's interesting that they take down the veil and use the veil itself to protect the ark. That is very intriguing to me. It's also interesting that he's commanding specifically blue fabric. And we also see a strand of blue is required in the tzitzit.
That's right.
So I'm not sure.
Which I think we'll get to in chapter 15 of this book.
Yeah. I'm not sure what the significance of blue is for the father. But I mean, the sky is blue, water is blue. I mean, it's considered a royal color. So I don't know. But it's interesting.
Water technically is not blue, but it gives the appearance of blue very often because of the scattering of the light in the sky. So
I mean, I've seen some green ponds in my day. You're right.
We've got
true.
So, but at the same time,
corrected.
We look up and we see a blue covering over us.
Yes.
That's called the sky, which is we know is just water inside the firmament, which is called the Shomayim, right?
Yeah.
The heaven, the covering of water. So, could be something there. I don't know. Very interesting. So our first pairing, unless you have anything else you want to talk about in chapter 4.
No,
we'll go into our first pairing.
Move to our pairings, yeah.
Our first pairing is going to actually be in 2 Samuel chapter 24. And so we're going to read real quick about one of David's mistakes.
Yeah.
Famous David. He makes lots of mistakes.
This is one of his famous mistakes,
That's
actually.
right. We all make mistakes.
Yeah.
His just got recorded.
Yeah.
So
they're like written on the heavenly tablets.
That's right. Give him some slack.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So let's look at 2 Samuel chapter 24. We're actually going to read verses 1 through 25. I'm going to read that real quick. And here in verse 1, it says, "Now the anger of the Lord burned against Israel, and it incited David against him to say, 'Go, number Israel and Judah.' The king said to Joab, the commander of the army who is with him, 'Go about now through all the tribes of Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, and register the people, that I may know the number of the people.' But Joab said to the king, 'Now may the Lord your God add to the people 100 times as many as they are, while the eyes of my lord the king still see it. But why does my lord the king delight in this thing?' And nevertheless, the king's word prevailed against Joab and against the commanders of the army. So Joab and the commanders of the army went out from the presence of the king to register the people of Israel. They crossed the Jordan and camped in Aroer. Excuse me, I didn't say that right. They camped in Aroer. I don't even think I can say that word, guys. They camped in a word spelled Aroer in the English transliteration. And on the right side of the city, that is, in the midst of the valley of Gad and toward Jazer, Then they came to Gilead, and to the land of Tadim-Boshi, and they came to Danjan, and around to Sidon. And they came to the fortress of Tyre, and to all the cities of the Hivites and the Canaanites, but they went out to the south of Judah to Beersheba. So when they had gone about through the whole land, they came to Jerusalem at the end of 9 months and 20 days. And Joab gave the number of the registration of the people to the king, and they were in Israel 800,000 valiant men who drew the sword, and men of Judah were 500,000 men. Now, David's heart troubled him after he had numbered the people. And so David said to the Lord, 'I've sinned greatly in what I've done. By now, Yahweh, please take away the iniquity of your servant, for I have acted very foolishly.' And when David arose in the morning, the word of the Lord came to prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, 'Go and speak to David. And thus the Lord says, I'm offering you 3 things. Choose for yourself one of them, which I will do to you.' So Gad came to David and told him and said to him, 'Shall 7 years of famine come to you in your land? Or will you flee 3 months before your foes while they pursue you? Or shall there be 3 days pestilence in your land? Now consider and see what answer I shall return to him and who sent me. Then David said to Gad, I am in great distress. Let us now fall into the hand of Yahweh, for his mercies are great, but do not let me fall into the hand of man. So the Lord sent a pestilence upon Israel from the morning until the appointed time, and 70,000 men of the people from Dan to Beersheba died. And when the angel stretched out his hand toward Jerusalem to destroy it, the Lord relented from the calamity and said to the angel who destroyed the people, It's enough! Now relax your hand. And the angel of the Lord was by the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. Then David spoke to the Lord when he saw the angel who was striking down the people, and he said, Behold, it is I who have sinned, and it is I who have done wrong. But these sheep, what have they done? Please let your hand be against me and against my father's house. So Gad came to David that day and said to him, Go up and build an altar to the Lord on the threshing floor of Araunah the Jebusite. David went up according to the word of Gad, just as Yahweh had commanded. So Araunah looked down and saw the king and his servants crossing over toward him, and Araunah went out and bowed his face to the ground before the king. Then Araunah said, Why has my lord the king come to his servant? And David said, To buy the threshing floor from you in order to build an altar to the Lord, that the plague may be held back from the people. And Araunah said to David, Let my lord the king take and offer up what is good in his sight. Look, the oxen for the burnt offering, the threshing sledges, and the yokes of the oxen for the wood, everything, O king, Araunah gives to the king. And Araunah said to the king, May the Lord your God accept you. However, the king said to Araunah, No, but I will surely buy it from you for a price, for I will not offer burnt offerings to Yahweh my God, which cost me nothing. So David bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver, and David built there an altar to Yahweh and offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. Thus the Lord was moved by prayer for the land, and the plague was held back from Israel. Okay, it's one of the more difficult stories to grasp and swallow, right? But thankfully, in this one, I remember being 19 years old and reading this story because I bought a book by Charles Swindoll. He's a famous pastor in mainstream Christianity, and he writes a lot of books. He did an entire book just on the life of David. I read it, thought it was great. My middle name's David, so I was having some church aspirations of being a mighty man of God, right? So I'm reading this book, and I remember coming across this particular passage and Charles Swindoll's commentary on this, and I was like, I didn't get it. Yeah. I thought it seemed really, really crazy, and even now today, there's some aspects of it that I'm like, man, the Father, again, like we were just talking about earlier with the last chapter in Leviticus there, he's serious. He's serious about his instructions. Yeah. And so this is why so many times in the last few weeks, as we've been finishing these chapters and these portions, it says, and Moses did all that Yahweh commanded him to do. Mm-hmm. And this is something where David did not do that. Yeah. Which is why his commander of the army, Joab, tries to stop him at the very beginning. Right. And he's like, hey, may God multiply everybody 10 times while you're still alive to see it, but why are you doing this? Why are you delighting in this thing? Because he knew that it was not doing it the right way, for one, and it was not instructed by Yahweh. Yeah, apparently it was common knowledge for these people, the counselors around him, that if you're not receiving instruction from Yahweh to take a census, you don't have any business taking a census. And then we go further into, we see the census isn't performed the way it's performed according to the instructions in Numbers, where it starts out with Yahweh directly commanding them to do it, and then there's a ransom involved, and those people are gathered to the Lord at the tent of meeting to do the census, whereas David sent people out into all the land, and the census took, about 9 months for them to complete. Yeah. And the people themselves, according to the festivals and the Exodus, Exodus 23, they were already supposed to present themselves 3 times a year to Yahweh at his temple anyway, where the house where his name dwells. So, of course, in the days of David, it was at Bethel for a long period of time, and then it was moved to some other place. I can't remember right now. It was moved, but it wasn't actually, Solomon didn't build a temple yet because Solomon was not in the game yet. So, but anyway, it was just interesting. There seems to be 3 things done wrong with this census, and therefore it incurred 3 choices. Right. 3 choices of judgment. Something else I want to point out real quick. If you guys notice, many of you may be reading along in different translations, and that's fine. But here in verse... the first option of the 3 judgments that was given, I think it's here in verse 13. The first option given was, my translation says 7 years of famine. Many other translations will say 3 years of famine. And the Septuagint itself says 3 years of famine. So it just, this particular book in translation may be different, but that's fine, guys. I don't think it's a big point of contention personally, because it probably is 3, to be honest with you, because that would make more sense with everything else that we just read.
Yeah.
But with all the other options of whether 3 days of war, or 3 months of war, or 3 days of plague, so it makes sense to me. So anyway, also this idea that Gad the seer.
Yeah.
So, okay, there's an actual book called Gad the Seer. Mm-hmm. I personally haven't had a chance to study it out fully yet, but I wonder if this is mentioned in that book.
Be interesting if it is.
Be interesting, because as we talked about, there's lots of different books that are mentioned in the Bible that are not actually put in the Bible. And this is not the only place that Gad the seer is mentioned. Mm-hmm. And also, I think Iddo is another seer that's mentioned to having his own writings. And then, there's the book of Jasher, and, there's a big debate on whether or not the book of Jasher we have today is the same one that it's being referenced in the scriptures. And the word Jasher just means the book of the just man. So it wasn't like an actual person's name, So it's like, there's just lots of different concepts in here. But, here we have, just like the other prophets that came to David. Remember with the whole Bathsheba thing, was it Nathan the prophet that came to him?
Yeah.
So apparently this is at a different time period, and there's Gad the seer, And you pointed out something interesting as we were doing this study, didn't you? You don't remember?
Did I? Okay. Refresh my memory.
You pointed out how in the actual description of Joab going throughout the country, that it mentions that he went through all the tribes of Israel from Dan to Beersheba. But then as it goes down further, it actually mentions all these northern tribes, but then it says, and then he went to the south to Judah.
Yeah, so it's in this, the language of this chapter is already speaking of Judah and Israel separately.
It's interesting.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's a slight allusion. I don't know if it's full, but it's a slight. But again, like we've read in previous portions, the Testament of Levi, even the book of Enoch, they talk about how they had prophesied from way back, from the days of Abraham. They had already prophesied that they knew the descendants of Jacob were going to split into 2 kings at some point anyway. And so this is something to consider, I guess, since they would have had all those books. All right. Do you want to go to our next pairing? Is there anything on here you want else?
Yeah, we can
okay, guys, what do you guys think? I mean, if you're still watching this at this point, what do you think was the definitive reason for this plague to break out, or for the angel to actually have to show up and give a message to David and say, "Hey, man, you got 3 choices, and they're not good choices." Yeah. So, for inciting the anger basically from Yahweh against David and for his decision making, put it in the comments if you have any thoughts on that. We'd love to hear from you. But otherwise, we're going to go over to our writings pairing, which is the Ketuvim, also just called the Book of Psalms to many of us. It's going to be chapter 49, and we're going to be looking at the first 15 verses.
All right, Psalm 49. Hear this, all peoples. Give ear, all inhabitants of the world, both low and high, rich and poor together. My mouth will speak wisdom, and the meditation of my heart will be understanding. I will incline my ear to a proverb. I will express my riddle on the harp. Why should I fear in days of adversity, when the iniquity of my foes surrounds me? Even those who trust in their wealth and boast in the abundance of their riches. No man can by any means redeem his brother, or give to God a ransom for him. For the redemption of his soul is costly, and he should cease trying forever, that he should live on eternally, that he should not undergo decay. For he sees that even wise men die, the stupid and the senseless alike perish, and leave their wealth to others. Their inner thought is that their houses are forever, and their dwelling places to all generations. They have called their lands after their own names. But man in his pomp will not endure. He is like the beasts that perish. This is the way of those who are foolish, and of those after and of those after them who approve their words. As sheep they are appointed for Sheol. Death shall be their shepherd, and the upright shall rule over them in the morning. And their form shall be for Sheol to consume, so that they have no habitation. But God will redeem my soul from the power of Sheol, for he will receive me.
Thank you, sweetie. Okay. I like Psalms, obviously, but I love how the psalmists, they very often refer to the resurrection. Yeah. This is just another wonderful mention of it. And he understands that death is appointed for all men, right? Remember what Jesus says, that it's not the death of the body that we should be worried about, because that is not something that can actually kill the body and the soul, because the soul goes to Sheol, right? Which is, in the Greek, it's called Hades. This is why Yeshua in Luke chapter 16 in his parable about the rich man and Lazarus uses the backdrop of Hades as the setting for that parable. And he even talks about how that, Hades is the word he specifically uses there. He's talking about Sheol, which is the place where spirits go. As Enoch 22 tells us, is a compartmental place in the heart of the earth that actually people go there to wait either the resurrection, as was mentioned here, or they wait to be pulled out and judged, thrown in the lake of fire.
Right.
So this is where this concept here, this guy, the psalmist, he's confident that his soul will be redeemed from Sheol. And so this is very interesting to this idea of being ransomed and redeemed from the captivity of death. And this is what Yeshua provides for us through his priesthood, having been given authority by the Father to raise us on the last day, as he talks about. I think it's in John 6:38. But that's just something that it's a wonderful encouragement. And like we were talking about, if we're reading some things in if we're reading some things in the book of Numbers that are analogous to the kingdom, to me, the layout of how the people encamped around the city of God would be one of them, as well as the resurrection itself, right? Redeeming those and taking them to himself. So we're redeemed as the quote-unquote dead in Christ. When the time comes, the day of the Lord, the seventh and last trumpet is blown, we're resurrected. Angels escort us to the New Jerusalem. We're taken into the kingdom. The the Son and warrior angels are coming down to do battle at the Battle of Armageddon and clear out the land of promise so the city can set down. And this is a moment where we've been redeemed.
Right.
It's a beautiful, beautiful promise. And as Paul says, if we don't have the hope of the resurrection, then our faith is literally in vain.
Right.
That we have nothing to really even have faith for, right? And remember, sweetie, like a month or two ago, I did a quote-unquote interview/debate with a guy who's he's calls himself a rabbi of Orthodox Judaism, even though he holds quite a few opinions that are different from mainstream Orthodox Judaism. He didn't believe in the resurrection.
Right.
And so I asked him at one point, so what's the point of your faith? Like, what's the whole idea? Now, many people might not have seen it because it's like a 3-hour conversation.
Yeah.
But at like 2.5 hours in, I actually had to try to ask him, so what's you don't believe in the resurrection, you don't believe that the prophets after Moses are supposed to be authoritative and valid and that you can just interpret them however you want, and they all talked about the resurrection, and you definitely don't believe in Yeshua being your high priest who's ordained and promised and prophesied to resurrect you through his priesthood, then what is the point of you even trying to be good and follow God's instructions for goodness and righteousness as laid down in the Torah? And he didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
Because there is no reason for the faith unless we're striving for the reward of eternal life.
Right.
Right? This is the John 3:16 idea, right? So this is to us why the resurrection is so important. It's why it's actually a branch on my context tree, because I feel like it's a fundamental idea. It's spoken about all the way through Scripture, guys. It's a part of the covenant promise between Yahweh and mankind. It's even mentioned all the way back as far as Enoch chapter 5. And it is a fundamental idea for us. He knows that these mortal bodies are not immortal, and we need to be made immortal. It's the big idea. Like, we need to be changed. And so that's what's so important about this. So let's read real quick about some of that change, unless you've got something else I missed. I'm sorry.
I had something to add.
Okay.
I just wanted to point out that this psalm, it speaks to the fact that we need someone to resurrect us. So it says, no man can by any means redeem his brother or give to God a ransom for him. And so this is specifically talking about the resurrection. It's not saying, because clearly we just read that people could be redeemed through a ransom being given to the tabernacle. So we know that this is not talking about the literal ransom involved in, what goes on with the vow offerings and things like that at the tabernacle. This is specifically referring to how we need someone to have the power to resurrect us from Sheol. And that's costly. It talks about how, doing this is costly. And, Yeshua came and sacrificed his life for that. And it cost him a lot to come and do that for us. But he's achieved it. So, definitely want to rejoice in that. But that was all I wanted to point out.
Yeah, that's awesome. Exactly. And I mean, it's just... And so this actually leans to the conversation of can you save yourself through works?
Right, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
The Old Testament, people get in this dispensational mentality and they think, oh man, you can't keep the law of God because you're just trying to earn your salvation.
Right.
You're like, no, wait a minute. That's actually, the whole premise of that is not even biblical, right? The whole complaint of that doesn't even match the Old Testament. And this is an example right here in Psalm 49 of a guy, he didn't think that he could earn his salvation.
No.
He knew he couldn't,
Yeah.
right?
And
He knew that Yahweh had to ransom his soul from Sheol. The only reason he could have that faith and be confident in that was because he followed the instructions of God and was qualifying himself for that ransom. But otherwise, he can't do it himself.
Yeah, this is the same guy that wrote Psalm 119.
That's right.
So clearly he's not talking about how, it's true that nothing we do in this life is going to give any of us the power to resurrect ourselves. That's just the reality of it. So when it comes to works-based salvation, I mean, people really need to just define the term salvation.
That's right.
Because this idea of salvation that we've all been taught most of our lives is that it's just this point of conversion in your life when you turn your heart and your mind to God. But it's a literal moment in time where we receive salvation from the power of Sheol. We're redeemed from Sheol. We receive the resurrection. So you can't perform your own salvation, but Jesus himself says that you can be found worthy to attain to the resurrection.
That's right.
So, and people might be offended by that statement, but a lot of those people
take it up with Jesus.
Yeah, a lot of people would probably agree that someone who chose to be a Satanist their whole life and engage in all of that horrific, religious practice that goes on with that religion is not worthy of the resurrection. Right. So, if you just think in those terms, like that's what that's talking about. It's not about works-based salvation, which is just a misnomer to begin with.
Actually, what it's talking about is discipleship.
True.
It's the idea of, did the Father give us a surefire way to know that we're walking with him?
Yeah.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
No questions, no feelings that you got to rely on. A surefire, verifiable, eyewitness way. Can I know and can my brethren know that I'm walking with the Father in discipleship to Yeshua? Yes, he did. It's called his commandments, and he made it very clear for us. All you got to do is walk them out. You're qualifying yourself for this point where he only saves you and ransoms you from Sheol and gives you eternal life in a new body. Let's read about that new body right now. So we're going to go to 1 Corinthians 15. And let's go to chapter 15, verse 50 through 58.
And guys, you should just read the whole chapter when you have time. When you understand the resurrection, Paul's words come alive in a way that even when you first just come to understand that the Torah is still relevant and how his words make more sense, add in the resurrection and the New Jerusalem into that, and his words just pop off the page.
That's right.
And this is probably my favorite chapter of Paul, of everything that he wrote. So, now I say this, brethren, that flesh and blood cannot inherit the kingdom of God, nor does the perishable inherit the imperishable. Behold, I tell you a mystery. We will not all sleep, but we will all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised imperishable, and we will be changed. For this perishable must put on the imperishable, and this mortal must put on immortality. But when the perishable will have put on the imperishable, and this mortal will have put on immortality, then will come about the saying that is written, Death is swallowed up in victory. O death, where is your victory? O death, where is your sting? The sting of death is sin, and the power of sin is the law. But thanks be to God, who gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Therefore, my beloved brethren, be steadfast, immovable, always abounding in the work of the Lord, knowing that your toil is not in vain in the Lord.
Amen.
Yeah.
Awesome, right?
Yeah.
Paul just succinctly, the whole chapter builds to that, obviously, but he succinctly is talking about this idea that we will be ransomed from death. This is the part where we are believing for our salvation from Sheol, right? To give eternal life to us from the Father. We can't do this for ourselves, right? Not through works, lest any man should boast.
Right.
This is what he's talking about in Ephesians chapter 2, guys. He's talking about the resurrection. You can't resurrect yourself, but you can qualify to be resurrected by Yeshua. Yep. So this is the simple understanding of just, look, there's a reason why the Father said, if you do these instructions, you will live. Like we talked about last week, right? What was it, Leviticus 25? At the beginning of 25, he's like, if you do these, you will live. It's so important. He gave us literally the recipe to have assurance that we'll have eternal life and be raised from the dead.
Right.
So if I could just give a quick brief overview, from the beginning, every prophet talked about the promised land to come, how to get to that promised land, and that you'd be resurrected to get there, and that there was a literal, lawful way to get there. And it was going to come through the Messiah, who was going to have the ability to resurrect you. But as all high priests are, they're judges.
Yeah.
And so he's going to judge who he deems worthy. This is why he says in multiple places, you'll be judged by your deeds.
Right.
Revelation chapter 2, he who is overcome and he who is, like he says, Luke chapter 20, found worthy to attain unto the resurrection. So Jesus gets to make that judgment. None of us do, right? So we don't get to look at the person next to us at work or in our family or at church in the next pew and say, they're not making the resurrection. None of us get to make that call, only Yeshua. But that is the literal fulfillment of salvation, and that there is a literal scriptural recipe for us to get there so that we can know that we're going to have some unleavened good bread come out of the oven in the resurrection, okay? So, sorry for my recipe analogy, but so that's the point, is that there is no guess game.
Right.
There is no, depending on what the pastor says about you, whether he likes you or not.
Yeah.
Like there's none of that, or the Catholic priest or whatever, absolving you of your sins and all that. There's none of, like, all it takes, guys, is the Father said, here's the way you do it, and then I'm going to make the rest happen, right? Through his own means of fulfilling through the priesthood, the law, so that he can have a perfect set apart high priest, faithful man who was obedient even unto death, who's made the first fruits of the first resurrection Paul's talking about, who can have that authority to raise the rest of us.
Right.
That's why we're in Christ. That's what that language even means. So, hallelujah. Like, praise God for that, man. Like, he's made it the way. He's given us the way to follow. And then on the back end, he's made the way possible. And it's all done by his power, his providence, his grace to us. So, praise God.
Yeah, hallelujah.
Praise God. And let's read about that concept from a unique description as the prophet Baruch, a contemporary of Jeremiah, he's going to have it explained to him by an actual angel. So let's read about that real quick. This is in 2nd Baruch, also called the Apocalypse of Baruch. And we're going to be reading chapters 49 through 51. They're rather short. So here in chapter 49, verse 1, it says, Nevertheless, I will ask again from you, Almighty One. Yea, I will ask of the one who made all things. In what shape will those live who live in your day? Or how will the splendor of those who are after that time continue? Will they then resume this form of the present and put on these entrammeling members, which are now involved in evils and in which evils are consummated? Or will you perchance change these things which have been in the world, as also the world? And he answered and he said unto me, Hear, Baruch, this word, and write in the remembrance of your heart all that you shall learn. For the earth shall then assuredly restore the dead, which it now receives, in order to preserve them. It shall make no change in their form, but as it has received, so shall it restore them. And as I delivered them unto it, so also shall it raise them. For then it will be necessary to show the living that the dead have come to life again, and that those who have departed have returned again. And it shall come to pass, when they have severally recognized those whom they now know, then judgment shall grow strong, and those things which before we spoke of shall come. And it shall come to pass, when the appointed day has gone by, that then shall the aspect of those who are condemned by afterwards changed, and the glory of those who are justified. For the aspect of those who now act wickedly shall become worse than it is, as they shall suffer torment. And also, as for the glory of those who have now been justified in my law, who have had understanding in their life, and who have planted in their heart the root of wisdom, then their splendor shall be glorified in changes, and the form of their face shall be turned into the light of their beauty, that they may be able to acquire and receive the world which does not die, which is then promised to them. For over this above all shall those who come then lament, that they rejected my law, and stopped their ears, that they may not hear wisdom or receive understanding. And when therefore they see those over whom they are now exalted, but who shall then be exalted and glorified more than they shall respectively be transformed, the latter into the splendor of angels, and the former shall yet more waste away in wonder at the visions and in the beholding of the forms. For they shall first behold and afterward depart to be tormented. But those who have been saved by their works, and to whom the law has now been a hope, and understanding an expectation, and wisdom a confidence, shall wonders appear in their time. For they shall behold the world which is now invisible to them. They shall behold the time which is now hidden from them. The time shall no longer age them. And in the heights of the world they shall dwell. In the heights of that world they shall dwell. And they shall be made like unto the angels, and be made equal to the stars. They shall be changed into every form they desire, from beauty into loveliness, and from light into the splendor of glory. For there shall be spread before them the extent of paradise, and And there shall be shown to them the beauty of the majesty of the living creatures which are beneath the throne, and all the armies of the angels which are now held fast by my word, lest they should appear, and are held fast by a command, that they may stand in their places till their advent comes. Moreover, there shall then be excellency in the righteousness surpassing that in the angels. For the first shall receive the last, those whom they were expecting, and the last those of whom they used to hear that had been passed away. For they have been delivered out of this world of tribulation and laid down the burden of anguish. For what then have men lost their life, and for what have those who were on the earth exchanged their soul? For then they choose not for themselves this time, which beyond the reach of anguish could not pass away, but they chose for themselves that time, whose issues are full of lamentations and evils. And they denied the world which ages, not those who come to it, and they rejected the time of glory, so that they shall not come to the honor of which I told you before. Wow. Apocalypse of Baruch, the prophet Baruch. This is a book that used to be in the Bible. They took it out. I mean, guys, he's talking about the resurrection. He's actually explaining the difference in the people that rejected God and the people that accepted God, and how the evil used to rule over the righteous, right. And now the righteous are going to be more glorified than those who are awaiting torment and condemnation. Mm-hmm. And it's even talking about the day itself, the day of the Lord, the day of the resurrection, where those who are not being resurrected are going to see this happen. Because remember what Paul tells us in 1 Thessalonians 4, verses 13 through 18, those who are alive and remain, right, at that last trump will be caught up, right, in the air. So this is what we read in 1 Corinthians 15, verse 51 and 52. They're changed in the twinkling of an eye, okay? So at the resurrection, and I go over this in great detail on my first resurrection videos. I'll put them up there here on the screen for you to look at, but you can go check it out in the playlist. It's in the New Beginners playlist. You can check that out, and the First Resurrection playlist as well. And I go over the resurrection in great detail, all the scriptures, but the basic idea is that there's those who are dead in Christ, right? Mm-hmm. So everyone in the graves, in Sheol, they're raised first, and then those who are alive and remain, who are considered in Christ, right? They're believing in for their salvation as well. They're changed in the twinkling of an eye into this form that Baruch is talking about, right? This glorified body that Paul also mentions. And the people that are alive around them see this. So, the traditional rapture theory that is promoted, right? Which is where they get this idea of being the harpazo, right? The being caught away moment. It happens on the day of the Lord, right? It happens at the last trumpet, and that's all throughout the scriptures. But what they don't talk about is what would be the reality, which is what Second Baruch mentions here,
right? Which
is the fact that in fact, let me back up a little bit. The rapture theory says that people, like, what are some of the hyperbole images that we've seen, even like in movies, right? Where it's just like, oh, the rapture happened and there's just a pile of clothes laying on some shoes,
yeah,
right? That's not what this says. That's not what Paul says, right? This is they're changed in the twinkling of an eye, and then the angels come and get them. And this actually expounds even to say there's even the whole process is being witnessed by the wicked, by the evil, by those who've rejected God and his law, right? Those who have rejected his commands, his way of thinking, his ordinance, his structure, his offer of salvation through Yeshua. They've rejected all that. And they're actually going to watch people be changed in the twinkling of an eye into their glorified, immortal, resurrected bodies. And then other prophets like Isaiah and other places, it talks about the angels come together. Matthew 13, the angels are sent out to gather those who've been resurrected, take them to New Jerusalem. They're going to watch that too.
Yeah, the whole world is going to know that something's going on when the firmament opens up and Yeshua returns.
Yeah, it's not, they're like we've joked around before, there'll be no unbelievers on the day of the Lord. Yeah. Everyone's going to know, which is what this is actually talking about here in Baruch, where it talks about they lamented all the more, right? Because their attitude worsened, and because they knew their torment was coming. They knew they'd missed this moment because they rejected the Creator. Because everyone already knows. Right. That there is a creator. This is what Paul talks about in Romans 1 and 2. But
yeah, it's kind of like the saying, there's no atheists in the foxhole.
Right.
Oh, there's going to be no atheists on the day of the Lord, guys.
That's right. It's a new t-shirt.
Yeah.
New t-shirt.
Yeah, good idea.
Yeah, yeah, guys, we got Honor Kings t-shirts down below. If you haven't seen them, we need to we're thinking about making a special t-shirt for Leviticus and Numbers as well, and just trying to up our t-shirt game for people that want to support us and actually have fun shirts to wear.
Might need some meme shirts instead of t-shirts.
Yeah, meme shirts.
We're thinking about it.
Anything in this particular passage that sticks out to you, sweetie, from Baruch?
No, I think you covered it. What I love about some of these apocryphal books is that when you read them, especially these parts about the resurrection, you can see exactly where Paul was getting his information.
That's right.
He was not just having an instant download. I mean, certainly his words are inspired, but they're inspired by other inspired texts. So that's what always gets me when we read some of these books, especially this and Baruch and Second Esdras. Really, I mean, sometimes he's just quoting verbatim, and
That's
then
right.
there's also parts where you see Yeshua was quoting these books. So, just all the more of a witness to, the validity of some of these texts and how much more context that they can add,
That's right.
to everything else that you're
There's
reading.
something that really interesting here to me that I just hope people caught before we go real quick. It's verses 10 through 11, where it says, "In the heights of that world they shall dwell, and they shall be made like unto the angels." Now, it's talking about heights. What heights?
Yeah, in the New Jerusalem.
So in the New Jerusalem, guys, as Enoch 25 and Revelation 21 tell us, there's not only these 7 huge, massive mountains, and the biggest mountain in the middle of it is Yeshua's throne at the top of that mountain with beautiful trees of life. It's likened unto, like, the top of the entire mountain is likened unto sapphire. So that's wild. But the New Jerusalem itself is supposed to be 1,500 miles tall. So that's in the heights of that world, within the kingdom of heaven. 1,500 miles squared is like its little world unto itself.
Right.
And the heights of that world, which is why we're made like the angels, because we can transverse anywhere inside that place. We can move around and equal to the stars. And this is where my theory goes, whereas the height of the New Jerusalem being brought down through the multiple levels of the firmament, it actually reaches all the way up into the firmament to the 7th heaven, if you will,
Right.
the 7th level of the firmament, where the Father's house and throne is, which is what Psalm, I think it's 15, talks about who can ascend his holy hill.
Right.
And it's only those in the resurrection, because we can actually pass through to that upper area into the firmament. Anyway, that's a little bit more advanced concept. We'll make some...
That's the new heaven and new earth,
Yeah, it's
guys.
the new... Yeah, it's totally redesigned. And that's what the word in Revelation 21 actually means in the Greek. It's the word kainos, which means a refashioned firmament and earth, not a neos, which would be the Greek word for brand new, never existing before. It's a kainos, a refashioned. Anyway, but I've done videos on that. But then verse 11 says, "For there shall be spread before them the extents of paradise." Mm-hmm. So it's connecting the resurrection to your entrance into paradise and the New Jerusalem, which is what Revelation already calls the New Jerusalem as paradise of God. So people ask, well, I thought when I die I go to heaven. You go to Sheol to await the resurrection. And I hope that you do. And I hope that you're resurrected. And we're confident in our resurrection.
Yeah.
We believe in our Savior to resurrect us on the last day. And we hope that you understand that as well. We don't go to heaven immediately, right?
Right.
The kingdom of heaven actually comes down to us, to earth, and it's called paradise. And this is a wonderful example of tying all those ideas together and the timing of those ideas. So this whole concept, it just makes me laugh. It's like the rapture idea completely has it wrong, not just on the timing and the application, because it doesn't really understand the resurrection, much less the idea of Sheol and the timing of the day of the Lord, but it even has it wrong in their literal explanation of where the people go.
Right.
Right? It doesn't say they just disappear. It says people will literally watch them be changed into their resurrection bodies.
Yeah.
That's wild to me. Like, that to me, that'll definitely wake you up and get your attention.
Yeah.
So anyway, and it just no one will be without excuse, guys.
Yeah.
This is the concept here, that the whole world will see his return. And when he, Matthew 25 moment, when he judges all the nations brought before him, he separates the sheep from the goats, they're not going to complain.
Right.
They're going to know. They're going to absolutely know. I mean, I know people were immediately thinking, but Sean, remember it says, some will say, haven't we cast out demons in your name? And all these... Yes, there'll be people that try to bargain.
Like that.
Yeah, they're going to try to bargain their way in. But he knows the thoughts and intents of the heart. He's the one that gets to do the judging because he's qualified for it. And ultimately, their own words will condemn them. Mm-hmm. So this is something that we just have to trust Yeshua for his judgment and his righteous judgment to be enacted at that time. So either way, this has been a fun episode studying the book of Numbers and implications for the kingdom. And I thank you for joining us. Sweetie, is there any last concluding remarks you'd like to say?
Parting words. Same as always, if you watch the whole thing, thanks for sticking with us. Come hang out with us on Facebook if you want. And just remember, our only heart here, our only goal is to help people understand the word so that they can help other people understand the word. And we want you to always be ready with an answer, no matter who's asking you questions, whether it be another believer, an unbeliever, someone who's undecided and is trying to figure those things out and reconcile things. And the only way to do that is to keep everything in its proper context, because context creates comprehension. So that's the foundation you want to start with anyone who comes to you with objections to the Bible. Most likely their objection to a verse is because the verse is being taken out of context. So that's always going to help you in your apologetics, in your own life, in your own studies, and in your own trying to, come to understand these concepts within the word. So just stick with it and stick with us if you can. We want to help you guys be able to do this. So that's it. We love you and we appreciate you joining us.
Absolutely. Well said.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us, guys. We hope to see you back here next week on Kingdom Portions. We'll continue in studying Numbers. Thanks.
See you
Shabbat
guys.
Shalom.
Have a good week.
Welcome to Kingdom in Context. The Creator never intended for us to be confused by His words. He gave us His words of life, and He gave them in context, to be understood and beneficial to our walk with Him. This channel's goal is to bring clarity to some of the misconceptions that have formed over time among believers and taught by others, however innocent and well-intended. The Scriptures make complete sense when we keep them in context of His coming kingdom and His coming King, Jesus the Messiah. If you're blessed by what we're doing with this channel and feel led to support us, visit the video description below where we have a PayPal option, a monthly Patreon option, or a traditional P.O. Box address. Thank you, and remember, context creates comprehension.